Conversation by conversation, interview by interview, StoryCorps is collecting the stories and voices of our time. At permanent story booths in New York and mobile booths traveling the country, history is being captured daily. Here, Phil Kerner remembers his career in the tool and die industry with Jeremy Hilton.
My name is Phil Kerner, and I'm 49 years old. And my relationship to the interviewer is just that. He's my interviewer today.
And I'm Jeremy Hilton, and I am with a new acquaintance, Philip, who I'm going to learn a little bit about right now. So, Philip, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania. My grandfather was a tool and die maker. My father was a tool and die maker. My uncles were tool and die makers. And my brother was a tool and die maker. And surprise, I became a tool and die maker. But guess what? I have 4 sons, and they're not going to be tool and die makers. My grandfather had taught all his boys in the basement in a little home on Cochrane Street here in Erie. He had machines down there. 3 boys, he taught them all tool and die making and machine shop trades. And they all became, 2 of them became shop owners. My other uncle founded a company, Kerner Company, which is still in business. I learned really quickly that whatever I wanted in life, I was going to probably pretty much have to go out and get it. And I'm not saying it was a bad lesson. I decided to attend, for whatever reason, I don't know what the catalyst was for me to go to a technical school, the Erie County Vocational Technical School, and I decided to take up tool and die drafting. I went to college after graduating for about a year, and it just drove me nuts. I couldn't wait to work. I had worked all through high school, and I wasn't making it money. And I realized it was very hard to work and do a good job of your studies. I quit college and got a job. I went and saw my brother, and I said, I think I want to be a tool and die maker. That's what I really want to do. So he introduced me to a guy, Joe Duska, and Joe had actually worked for my father, the Kerner Tool and Die Company. And he eventually went out and started his own. So back then, that's what you did in Erie. If you were any good, you started your own tool and die shop. So Joe gave me a job. That was my first job in the tool and die trade. So that's how I got into it. And I felt right at home. I felt this is where I belong. I felt like it was my heritage, where I should be.
So when did you start your own shop?
I was 31 years old in 1991. And I had been a tool and die maker at that point. The way it works is, of course, you take a 4-year apprenticeship. And then I spent about 7 more years in the trade trying to make sure I knew as much as I could know before I would start a shop.
And do you remember your first day?
Yeah, I remember. It's a very good story. We had a little building over here on 12th Street, East or West 12th Street, and I got to work at 6 in the morning, July 7th, I think, 1991. And I remember I pulled up the garage door, and a hobo came walking off the railroad tracks and asked me if I was hiring. That was within 30 seconds of the door being open. So I thought that was a very interesting start. It was really exciting, especially those first few years when you're trying to do everything on a shoestring. You don't have much of a budget. I started realizing in about 2002, I don't think this trade is going to make it. The worst part of my closing my shop is standing there alone with no support network. So after we got married, Heidi and I started our own networking organization right here in Erie, and to try and help small business owners not have to go through what I went through.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story.
And I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm so glad you guys came to little Erie, Pennsylvania, and I hope you have a little more insight about what makes Erie tick.
Phil Kerner and Jeremy Hilton from the StoryCorps booth in Erie, Pennsylvania. Produced locally by WQLN Radio. To see photos or learn more, please visit WQLN.org.